Today, we are diving into something truly fascinating, a philosophy from a 19th century sage, Sri Ramalinga Swamigal, that says the path to eternal life isn't about complicated rituals or decades of study, but about a single, powerful act of compassion. So what on earth is that act, and why is it so powerful? Let's get into it.
So, let me just ask you this. What if the key to everything you're searching for, to a state of perfect, unending happiness, was actually just one simple thing? A single act that could unlock a state this philosophy calls natural bliss. And what exactly is this natural bliss? Well, think about it like this. Imagine living an amazing life, everywhere you go, at all times, with absolutely nothing holding you back. No obstacles, no hindrances. That's the goal. That's the ultimate state for the soul. The big question, of course, is how do you get there? According to this teaching, the answer is crystal clear. You can't just build this state of bliss on your own. You can't just hustle your way to it. It can only be received as a gift of God's grace. Okay, so if grace is the only way, how on earth do you earn it? Right. So if grace is the door, we need the key. And this brings us straight to the heart of the teaching. The key has a name, soul compassion. And this isn't just one of many ways. It's presented as the direct method for inviting God's grace into your life. And here's where it gets really beautiful. The philosophy presents this perfect symmetry. Think of it like a coin. On one side, you have God's mercy, which we call grace. On the other side, you have a soul's sympathy for another, which we call compassion. It's a mirror image. To get divine mercy, you have to give human sympathy. The link is absolute. And what this does is it sets up a really clear choice, a moral fork in the road. The path of virtue, that's any life that's defined by compassion. And the path of vice, it's simply a life where compassion is missing. There's really no middle ground here. It's a fundamental decision. Now, to really grasp this, you have to adjust how you see yourself. The body isn't you. It's described as a temporary home, a tiny house that God built for your soul, your true self, to live in for a little while. And what about your mind? Your thoughts, your senses? Well, that's not your true self either. They're just tools. The teaching says the mind is just a pair of spectacles that your soul puts on to see the world. And sure, those glasses can get smudged or broken, but they're not the one who's actually doing the seeing. Okay, so if compassion is the key, then the next question has to be compassion for what? And this is where the teachings get incredibly specific. Because while all suffering is worthy of sympathy, there is one kind of pain that's seen as the absolute worst, the one that melts the soul itself. And that is the pain of hunger. Just think about that for a second. Hunger isn't just a rumble in your stomach. It's an attack on your very being. It perplexes, it scrambles and confuses your inner knowledge, your enlightenment. This philosophy then breaks down the cascading failure that follows. First, the mind, those spectacles for the soul, it just becomes confused. Your ability to think clearly starts to dissolve. Next, your intellect, your core ability to reason, it becomes spoilt. It's a total shutdown of your cognitive self. And finally, the whole system just collapses. The physical body withers away, and the life force itself is thrown into total chaos. See, in this view, hunger doesn't just hurt the body. It completely unravels a person, mind, body, and spirit. So given how uniquely devastating hunger is, it makes sense that the path of compassion would be sharply focused. The teachings say that not all compassionate acts are created equal. In fact, they're split into two very different grades of action. So let's break this down. There's what's called the inferior grade. This is relieving things like thirst or disease or poverty. These are good things, don't get me wrong, and they lead to some worldly pleasure. But then there's the superior grade, alleviating hunger and preventing killing. This is on a whole other level. This path doesn't just lead to worldly pleasure. It leads to the ultimate prize, divine bliss. This, of course, raises the big question. Why? Why this incredible focus on hunger? Why is feeding someone considered the most powerful spiritual thing you can possibly do? The reasoning is that hunger is just different. It's a force so primal, it erases everything else.
A powerful emperor forgets he's in charge. A wise sage gives up on enlightenment. A brave warrior loses the will to even fight. It's so destructive that a family might sell each other just to survive, and a person with deep self-respect will throw it all away to beg. Hunger is seen as the ultimate destroyer of our humanity.
So, we've laid out the problem, and we've laid out the solution. So, what's the payoff? Well, the philosophy promises some pretty profound rewards, both here in this life and in the hereafter, for anyone who chooses this path of superior compassion. And the worldly blessings that are promised are wow. They are specific and they are huge. This one act is said to cure incurable diseases, grant you a long life, give you intelligent children, and provide you with wealth. It's even said to protect you from things like floods and fires and boost your reputation. I mean, these are not small things. These are life-changing benefits.
And this brings us full circle. Remember that key we talked about at the beginning? Well, here's the final turn. Once you've earned that key, the key of compassion, you can open the door to the house of salvation. And you don't just get a quick look inside. You get to walk in and live there forever as one of the eternally liberated souls.
This might be the most radical idea in the entire philosophy. It claims that the simple, direct, physical act of feeding a hungry person is a more effective and more direct path to God than years of pilgrimage, intense yoga practices, or hours of silent meditation. It's a radical simplification of the entire spiritual quest.
And you know, this isn't just some abstract idea. It has a real, living legacy. Back in 1867, Sri Ramalinga Swamy himself lit a fire to start cooking for the hungry. A few years later, he vanished. His followers believe he literally transformed his body into pure light. And that fire he lit? It's said to be burning to this very day, still feeding anyone who shows up in need, more than 150 years later.
And so we end right where we started, with a question. This philosophy makes this incredible claim that the most powerful spiritual key we can ever hold is the one we use to fix the most basic human suffering, a single act of kindness that could echo into eternity. What if it's true?